to you. But until then, when you're bombing what was the capital of the world for 5,000 years, in an entirely one-way attack, it made me extremely uncomfortable. I want to get back to the big question of the hour, which to me is, where are we going in this conversation? It seems to me your style is your own, Chris Hitchens, and yet I hear very...
Well, it can't be anybody else's.
Well, it shouldn't be. More power to it. But
well, if you were imitating someone, it could.
No, but the moral here comes back to something so many people have said on our site and others, none better than the biologist E.O. Wilson, who said there's something deep in religious belief that divides people and amplifies societal conflict. And in the early part of this 21st century, the toxic mix of religion and tribalism has become so dangerous as to justify taking seriously the alternative view that humanism based on science is the effective antidote, the light and the way at last placed before us. Do you see that perhaps as the context of this whole book, Chris and Eddie, Glaude? Don't we all have to deal with the perils of religion in this moment somehow?
I'll allow Mr. Hitchens to answer first.
Chris Hitchens.
Christopher. Sorry, I promised my mother. So that's my name, is it?
I beg your pardon.
That's perfectly all right. Well, I think it's very well put by Professor Wilson, and I think, yes, it is my analogy, I don't make it in the book, but I'll make it like this. It's like Albert Camus. It's like the plague. The rats, in the end, die off, and they go back down to the sewer, and the bacteria go, and the plague is over, and the city is restored to health again. And Camus ends up by saying, but one day, because the rats were still down in the sewer, they would come to send themselves up again to die on the streets of a free city. We have largely, as you gentlemen have in your different ways both testified, domesticated and tamed and drawn many of the fangs of religion, so it's quite largely a private belief. It's quite largely, for most of the time, concerned only with things like charity and so forth, and less dogmatic. It's yielded enormously to the gains that the secular and scientific world have lavished upon us all. But there is always the danger, and I claim to detect it now around the world, of the revival of religious intolerance, of certainty, of revelation, of people saying, no, we mean it, we have God on our side, get out of our way, you don't count because we have this authority. And that danger must be admitted to be innate in religion to begin with, is in the texts that it hands out in school and that it gives out in its churches and synagogues and mosques, and is the provision of fundamental authority to the worst element. While that's the case, we're always in danger. We may as well realize it and get ready to
Eddie
fight
Glaude.
back.
My belief is that dogmas that shut down the cognitive virtues of free and open inquiry, of being open to revising one's position, all those sorts of dogmas one should be skeptical of. I want to be clear that the cosmos is open-ended, that the universe is open-ended, which means that all isn't quite settled. But I'm not quite sure why Christopher Hitchens singles out the dogma of religion only. There are a number of dogmas out there that shut down the various ways in which human beings can make their journey from womb to tomb, as it were, as they can navigate their experience and try to transform their circumstances through intelligent action. So I am with him in the sense that I want to accent the plurality of values. I want to accent an open-ended universe such that human beings can have the ability to act and transact with their environments in substantive ways. But I don't quite understand why he singles out religion in the way he does, because there are all sorts of dogmas that do this sort of work.
We'll take it up in Volume 2. Eddie Glaude, Jr. at Princeton, thank you. Christopher Hitchens of God is Not Great, thank you for joining us. You can keep talking about God and religion. You can help us work on the next shows. You can pitch us a show idea of your own at radioopensource.org, where you can also download any show and subscribe to Open Source as a podcast. Open Source is produced in association with WGBH Radio in Boston. The program is made possible by the Schooner Foundation, whose contributors support Physicians for Human Rights, promoting health by protecting human rights, phrusa.org. RadioOpenSource.org. Our website is hosted by Contegix, CONTEGIX.com. Our show is produced by David Miller, Catherine Bidwell, Chelsea Mers, Robin Amer, and Greta Pemberton, with help from Sam Gale Rosen. Robin Moore was our engineer. Mary McGrath is our executive producer. I'm Christopher Lydon. Join us next time on Open Source.
PRI, Public Radio International.